Welcome back to Cuomo Primetime. It's time for the great debate. It's no cacophony of voices. We have strong voices on two sides of an issue, and then we get after it. Joining us now for more on this White House war against the NFL, we got Van Jones and David Urban. Night 2 of the show. Gentlemen, thank you for being part of it.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
All right, Brother Urban, the president disinviting the Eagles. Is this another play at dividing the country along racial lines at a minimum?
Come on, not even close. I know. Listen, the Eagles chose to make this a political issue. The president invited them. They could have come down. They could have stood there. They could have celebrated like all teams have done in the past. But they chose to draw a line in the sand and not come because of what this president has said before the past, because of his political views, Chris. The Eagles chose to make this a political issue, not the president.
But why is it okay then that the president couldn't be better, couldn't elevate himself,
Chris,
couldn't remember that he's the president, and in front of the people's house, he disinvites them?
Because 10 people are coming. He pantsed the Eagles before they pantsed him.
Van Jones, is this a pantsing or is it something worse?
Look, it's completely ridiculous. First of all, let's just be very clear what happened here. The President of the United States decides to punish the entire team because some of the members didn't want to come. But he's punishing
the whole
the members
team didn't
who did.
come.
Hold on.
Okay.
He's punishing the entire team because some of the people didn't want to come. But the people he's punishing who didn't want to come didn't even do what he said they did because they didn't even kneel. He is so far down the rabbit hole of crazy on this. And what it comes down to is there is a resentment here against the NFL. And listen, nobody, by the way, I got to say this. Nobody was happier than me, by the way, when Philadelphia won, because Tom Shady Brady, who deflated balls and is somehow a hero, gets to play, and Colin Kaepernick, who never did anything but try to stick up for civil rights, can't even get on the field. So when Tom Shady Brady went down, and a lot of African Americans were very happy when Philadelphia won. And there's a racial dynamic here, a racial dimension here about the fact that Philadelphia and Trump have this beef. But it's outrageous for him, outrageous for Trump to punish the whole team for something that nobody on the team even did.
All right, back to you, Urban, but let's get some context. First of all, to the extent that Brady is relevant here, he didn't show up to the White House. He had family issues the last time that they won. The team showed up. Some of them chose not to go. They didn't get this treatment. Why the distinction? And you called it pantsing. My friend, this is why I gave you the downward look on that. These are heavy issues.
Chris,
I get it.
If you
don't practice patriotism the way I like it, you're bad.
No, Chris.
You're a son of a bitch.
No, it isn't,
get out
Chris.
of the country.
Listen.
That is dangerous talk for a president in a country that's about tolerance.
Listen, I believe in the players' ability to protest, the right to protest, right? I think we need to get past the protest, make some progress. If I were the NFL Players Association, I'd be working to try to get some sort of real reforms rather than continuing the protests on the sidelines. I don't know what that gets you. Let me just say, pick up the point that Anthony made earlier on the show. The national anthem is about 2 minutes, about 120 seconds, depending on who sings it. If we can't, as a nation, agree to stand and be silent and think about that.
Come on.
Chris, listen.
The flag is a symbol of freedom.
Hey, Chris, stop. Stop for a second. See this pin on my lapel here?
Yeah.
It's sort of Johnny Mac
Actually,
Soldier
no,
Fund.
we got the election countdown clock in front of it, but now I see it. What is it?
Somewhere in a pin. So Johnny Mac Soldiers Fund. I was at West Point today with my classmates, honoring my classmate John McHugh, who was killed by a terrorist bomber. You know what his coffin was wrapped in, Chris? The American flag. People take umbrage. They take
their sacrifice.
God
bless for them for protecting our freedoms.
Chris,
but
people take great
card.
umbrage.
That's jingoism.
No, it's not jingoism.
That's jingoism.
No, you believe patriotism is jingoism,
You are telling certain people.
Do you believe patriotism is jingoism?
No,
That's
of course not. But I'm saying when you pervert it, and when you say that if you're not the kind of patriot that I want you to be, that you're somehow inimical to the cause here.
No.
And that's dangerous stuff.
I think what the president's saying.
Hold on a second. We heard you on this one.
Okay.
Let's bounce it back.
Okay.
Van, listen. The reason I wanted to do this tonight is it ain't about football. Okay? And it's not about the flag. This started as a social protest when they started to kneel. Nobody's ever said I'm anti-flag. They said it is hard for me to honor the flag right now and honor our country when there are issues I'm so against that are against what this country is about. That's where it started. It was never a protest to the flag, but that's what Trump has made it, and his allies, like our friend on the show right now. Is that fair?
It's not fair, and I tell you, I'm a ninth-generation American, Chris. A ninth-generation American. I'm the first person in my family that was born with all my rights recognized by this government. My father was a veteran. My family members have served in this country. I don't need anybody to tell me what this flag means and what it represents. People in my family, people who look like me, have put blood in the ground, have put martyrs in the dirt in this country to have it be liberty and justice for all. And it is beyond insulting for people to lecture us about patriotism. We've done more.
Hey, Van,
no,
no,
you had your chance.
Go ahead.
Listen, there is a level of patronizing, not from you, but from this White House and from others, that somehow African Americans are ungrateful, that we somehow don't know what this country is about. We have fought in every war. We have sacrificed more for that Constitution than most people. And if this man, Colin Kaepernick, can't kneel because of veteran, you're talking about veterans, it was a veteran that told them to kneel. He was just sitting on his butt, and the veteran said that was wrong. And Colin Kaepernick learned, and Colin Kaepernick tried to grow, and Colin Kaepernick tried to do what they told him to do, and he still doesn't have a job. And it's wrong. And if you can't say it's wrong, then there's something wrong with you.
Van, so listen, wouldn't it be better if Colin Kaepernick were able to get the owners and get the police and get out in the community and see, right? Wouldn't it be better if all those players took all that energy and put it to progress?
Yeah, hold on. Let's get a counterpoint. Go ahead. This is, and by the way, first of all, with everything that's going on in this country right now, I like how this conversation's going. You're being reasonable, you're making your points, and I like it. Van, continue.
But here, Brother Urban, as you get called on this show all the time, because we do love you and we do respect you. But one thing that has been left out of the right-wing media coverage is that Colin Kaepernick has put millions of dollars and challenged other celebrities to put millions of dollars into the neighborhoods. He's not just talking the walk, he's walking the walk. Why can't that be acknowledged and
Why don't we talk about that?
I would love to talk about it, but here's the thing.
Why won't the president talk about it?
You got a president of the United States.
And listen, look, I think it's important to keep, who we're talking about and who we're not. Dave, I know that you agree with a lot of what Van is saying.
No, listen, I
know that as a veteran and somebody who respects the freedoms of this country, you know we're all about tolerance. We're all about letting people express the way that they want. That's why I'm worried about this.
But Chris, as a lawyer,
because that's not what the president's doing.
There are restrictions on speech in lots of instances, right? I'm not saying this is one of them.
And the NFL has their right to say how their employees do what they do, and they're figuring that out. But that's not what the president's playing at here.
Listen,
it's not what he's playing at. He's making it about these guys don't respect the flag. He calls them sons of bitches. He says they shouldn't be in the country. Who is they?
Listen,
who is they that he's talking about? This is not uniting. He was supposed to be a uniter. You told me he would be a uniter during the campaign.
I never said he was a uniter. That wasn't me.
Oh, it was you. You are not easy to mistake, my friend. Head shape alone. I'll never forget who you are.
Pull the tape. I know I got a big. I'm not like Van. I'm not like a good-looking guy like Van.
You guys both have good-shaped heads. It's what's in them that I'm worried about right now. Do you believe that this is the right move? Disinvite the team, say that they're opposition, say that they're wrong, say that they're not American.
Listen, Chris, it wasn't the president who decided. The president invited the team. On May 31st, 80-plus members of the Philadelphia Eagles were showing up. On June 1st, it was down to a handful of people, okay? The Eagles made the choice here, not the president.
But listen, I just think I see it very, very differently. But what the president is saying is that this is about the disrespect and the protesting. And the problem that you have is those players, the ones who didn't come and the ones who wanted to come, none of them kneeled in protest. So he's punishing all of them.
I don't disagree with that point.
Because they don't like him. That's why he's punishing.
That's why they didn't come. They don't agree with his politics.
And on that basis, he disinvited them, even though it's not his house, it's our house. And he's supposed to represent everybody in this country. And he's supposed to represent tolerance. And I don't know why he's not doing that.
Chris, do you really think, Van, do you think if the president invited LeBron and folks to come to the White House to sit down, do you think they'd show up?
Right now, no. Look, we got LeBron James. His sound is all over the place. He's saying, as an African-American athlete, I feel alienated by this
but if he said, but to your point, Chris, if he said, come on in, we're going to sit down and talk about this, would they go?
Listen, I don't know if they wouldn't go, honestly. We have had conversations with some of the players. They said, if you want to talk about something serious, like criminal justice reform, which you and I agree on, and some of these issues, I think some of them would come. Listen, at some point, let me just say this. I think the President of the United States has an opportunity to turn a breakdown into a breakthrough. Disinviting people and using it as a political weapon may be short-term pain, a gain for him, but it's long-term pain for the country. But if he wants to have a conversation, don't forget, these young guys who are 23, 24 years old, every Thanksgiving they go back to neighborhoods where nothing's gotten better from either party. Neither party has made anything better in those neighborhoods. He could sit down and talk with these guys, but instead, the grandstanding is short-term gain, long-term pain.
Last words I want to get into the topic.
So, Van, I would suggest, right, maybe around prison reform, you get a bunch of folks together, not around the flag. You take folks in, show what the president's doing, that he's not the devil incarnate as many think, and he's looking to do good things for the African American community on prison reform and other things. I think you'd be the tip of the spear on that one. You take the folks
but that's
forward,
the whole
buddy.
point.
I think
that's
Van
what
is
the president's role is: find the common ground, take action
and that would be
upon
common
it.
ground. And I think Van is a person who
Right,
is
but I'm saying
who's
that, look,
respected on both sides that could do that.
Van Jones is a good man. I watch
is a
his
good
show.
man.
It's a
Yep,
good
he is a
show.
good man.
But what I'm saying is the president shouldn't need a proxy to reach out to Americans to
it's not a
solve
proxy
problems.
because as I just asked, I said if the president put the invite out and said, LeBron, come on in.
Well, that's different. Let's see if that
He said he
happens,
wouldn't go.
and then we'll take the next step. In fact, we'll make it a cause right here on this show. We'll all do it together. That would be great. I'd love to have it. I would take time every night to follow it to its fruition. Let me ask you two more quick things. First one, Betsy DeVos. Let's play the sound.
Will your commission look at the role of firearms as it relates to gun violence in our schools?
That is not part of the commission's charge per se.
I see. So you're studying gun violence, but not considering the role of guns.
We're actually studying school safety and how we can ensure our students are safe at school.
Dan, if you had hair, would you pull it out over this? You're not going to look at guns, whether you want to look at who gets guns and how we control it better, or whether or not you think more guns are the solution. Certainly you can ignore the role of the weapon in this equation. How do you justify this?
Well, what she
go
says
ahead,
is
Van. Go
even
ahead.
worse than that. But what she says is even worse than that. She said we won't even study it.
Right.
Now, so listen, that means even if a comprehensive, clear-headed study would say, guess what? None of these gun regulations make a dadgum bit of difference. Don't do them. Even if the study would validate your point of view, you aren't even willing to have the study. That gives you that's a whole different level of dysfunction at the top of our government, where you won't even want to have facts that may prove you're right. There's something wrong with that.
No, look, guys, I mean, I'll push back on this
Please.
a bit. I don't think that Secretary DeVos said they're not going to look at that. I think what she did is she's going to take a look at things that are under their control, right? The gun violence is obviously a huge issue in schools. So is mental health, preparedness, mental health awareness, mental health funding,
Yes.
bullying. Look, there's lots of root problems that need to be studied to figure out what's happening here. As I've mentioned to you, Chris, and others, when you and I were growing up in Van, we were growing up as kids. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania. Guns were abundant and plentiful. No one went to school and shot anybody. What's changed in America? Guns have become less available in America now, and violence has increased. Something has changed. Something needs to be done. Something needs to be looked at.
So why not study
Right.
all of it?
And
Why-
just to be clear,
I think
from a fact perspective, gentlemen, she said it's not part of the charge of this commission.
And that committee is designed to
But
do something
I'm saying, how
differently.
can you have a committee that studies school shootings and not deal with the shooting element?
No. It's worse than that. It's worse than that. Why was the commission formed in the first place?
Listen, the question that was
because of a
posed-
shooting.
Sounds better when you said it, but I said the same thing.
If you push the
Go ahead.
rewind,
Last point on
listen.
this.
If you push the question back and listen to what Senator Leahy asked her, he asked whether 18-year-olds should be able to purchase AR-15s. That was the question that prompted that exchange.
Right, but we still wound up in the same place. Look,
No, well, listen,
here's the point.
She said, "Look, it's not my job; it's the
I know,
Congress's job."
but look, it's look,
Senator Leahy
it's a
and his
hedge,
colleagues.
and it shows that the commission isn't set up with the integrity that it should have been, especially if you're going to offer it up as a solution for the problem. Here's all I'm saying. There's a lot of common ground when it comes to making the schools safer. We know that. And if we're going to hide from the entire issue of gun violence by just looking at school shootings when they're only about 1.5% of the problem, then you at least should take it very seriously. We don't seem to be doing that.
Chris, I'd say take a look at Sandy Hook Promise. Great organization.
It is a great organization,
organization out of Newtown.
It
Those
is,
folks,
but our
put a
government
lot of
should
time
be our government should be in the lead, not hiding. All right,
I
now,
agree.
Last piece of sound. Former President Clinton made a lot of waves of the wrong kind by saying he wouldn't do anything different where Monica Lewinsky was involved, that Me Too hadn't really changed his disposition. Stephen Colbert gave him a redo on the question. Here's what he said.
Here's what I want to say. it wasn't my finest hour, but the important thing is that was a very painful thing that happened 20 years ago, and I apologize to my family, to Monica Lewinsky and her family, to the American people. I meant it then, I meant it now. I've had to live with the consequences every day since. And I still believe this Me Too movement is long overdue, necessary, and should be supported.
Reaction from both. Dave Urban, did he make it better or worse?
I made it better. Look, I mean, he got a redo. I take him at his face value. He said what he said and made it better.
Van Jones.
Look, I work with a lot of young guys who make mistakes, and the one thing we want them to say is the pain I caused, not this happened, the incident, whatever. And I think that was, I would have wanted him to say at the first time and the second time, I'm never going to stop apologizing. I will never stop apologizing to my country, to my wife, to whatever, and just own it, and then be that great example for other guys in similar situations. I think he came up way short the last time. If you were one of the young guys in one of my programs, I would still be coaching him to take more responsibility.
Van, he made it much better than the first time.
True.
Fine, but we're about progress, right? And
Yeah,
this is
absolutely.
something where the pain that has been caused to others by people in his position is what we want to highlight.
Well, the question
We got a
still
little
remains,
further to go.
did he apologize personally to Monica Lewinsky?
Well,
That
he
was
had said no.
Yeah,
He
great.
said
So
that he
that
did
was-
it outwardly.
right.
But let me tell you something. Brother Urban, Brother Jones, you're making this show better. You're making us fulfill our mandate of helping people to get after what's right and wrong. Thank you for doing it on the second night of the show.
All right, thanks for having us.
Thanks for giving us a chance. Appreciate
All
it.
right.